Today, a former Nazi went on trial charged with 300,000 counts of accessory to murder. German prosecutors are pursuing more than a dozen aging Nazis.
A single, forgotten photograph, sitting quietly in a dusty private archive for more than 70 years, never meant to be seen again, until now. It shows three Nazi soldiers staring back at the camera, frozen in time, their faces hiding secrets the world was never supposed to know. But what makes this photo truly haunting was uncovered when experts finally zoomed in, enhanced it, and traced every tiny detail. And once you hear what was discovered, you'll realize this isn't just a picture, it's a doorway into a truth. So stay glued and watch till the very end. The photo that sparked global curiosity. The haunting photograph that shows a bespectacled Nazi soldier aiming a pistol at a kneeling man beside a pit has held the attention of historians for more than 60 years because of what that single frozen moment says about the Holocaust. The image does not need blood or dramatic motion to speak loudly. A single figure standing with a weapon, another figure kneeling in stillness, and a pit filled with those who were already killed tells a story that words alone often struggle to explain. This one picture became one of the most powerful visual records of the Nazi campaign of mass murder, not because it was staged or designed for history books, but because it was taken in the middle of real life when people were being erased simply for who they were. The photograph first appeared in public in 1961 during the trial of Adolf Eichmann, one of the highest-ranking Nazi officials responsible for organizing the transport of Jews to death camps. A Holocaust survivor named Al Moss brought the photo forward. Moss had received the photograph in 1945, near the end of the war, but never knew exactly where it had been taken or who the people in the image were. Even without all the missing details, Moss could feel the weight of what that single photograph was trying to say. The image held a kind of truth that no speech, no report, and no courtroom record could ever fully explain. That was why Moss handed it to the press, because the world needed to see what life had really looked like during Eichmann's time in power. But what the public did not know was that this picture still had secrets waiting to be uncovered. So keep watching until the very end, because what experts later discovered inside this photo would shock everyone. For many years after that, the photo was shared in books, museums, and newspapers as a symbol of the Holocaust. It became one of the most well-known images from that period. Yet, even while the picture was widely recognized, very little was known about its real background. No clear records existed about where it was taken or who took it. Historians believe that another German soldier had taken the photo. During the war, many Nazi soldiers took personal photos of violence against civilians, not as evidence, but as keepsakes. These images were sometimes kept in albums or sent home as souvenirs, which shows how deeply cruelty had become normal for many people serving in the Nazi system. The photo was long misunderstood because of how it was labeled and passed along through time. For decades, it was called The Last Jew in Vinnitsa, which suggested the scene happened in the Ukrainian city of Vinnytsia. That label stayed attached to the photo even though no one could prove it. Once a title becomes accepted, it often becomes difficult to remove, especially when few people are able to double-check the original sources. As a result, museums, textbooks, and history articles repeated the same incorrect information again and again. Over time, the false location became part of the story. One reason the truth stayed hidden for so long was because the photograph had moved through many hands. It passed from soldier to survivor, from survivor to journalists, and then to archives. With each step, pieces of information were lost. Without original notes or film records, historians had to rely on guesswork. Before modern digital tools, researchers could only compare the image with written records and personal memories, which were often incomplete. Even careful experts struggled to find solid proof. Early interpretations of the photo focused on trying to match the background to known locations. Many experts assumed the photo came from Vinnytsia because mass killings did happen there. But later research showed that the scene did not match known locations from that city. Eventually, a more careful study of buildings, uniforms, and landscape details led historians to a different conclusion. Research published in a respected history journal showed that the massacre actually took place in Berdichev, another Ukrainian city. Berdichev had been a major center of Jewish life for hundreds of years. Before the war, tens of thousands of Jewish families lived there. Jewish schools, shops, and religious buildings were part of everyday life. When German forces arrived in 1941, that long history was shattered. Experts now believe the photograph was taken on July the 28th, 1941, at the Citadel in Berdichev. On that day, members of the SS carried out a large-scale killing of Jewish residents. Within just a few years, almost the entire Jewish population of the city was gone. Of the roughly 20,000 Jews who lived in Berdichev when the Germans arrived, only 15 were still alive by early 1944. That number alone shows the scale of what happened there. The correct identification of the photo did not happen all at once. It came through what historians call an incremental process. Traditional archive research played a major role. Scholars compared military records, local maps, and survivor accounts. But modern open-source investigation also helped. Groups like Bellingcat used digital tools to study small details in the image, such as shadows, building shapes, and uniform markings. By comparing these with known historical data, researchers were able to narrow down the location and time. This process showed how history can change when new tools are used. A photo that had been misnamed for decades was finally placed in its true setting. That did not change the meaning of the image, but it gave the victims a more accurate place in history. Instead of being linked to the wrong city, the people in the photo were now connected to the real community that had suffered there. The photograph remains deeply important today because it forces people to face what happened in a very direct way. Documents can be denied, numbers can feel distant, but a picture of a real person facing death in a real place is harder to ignore. The photo reminds the world that the Holocaust was not just about camps and lists. It was also about ordinary streets, local communities, and people being taken from daily life and killed in front of neighbors and soldiers. By uncovering the true background of the image, historians have helped restore some dignity to those who were lost. The photo no longer floats in history without a home. It now belongs to Berdichev, to a specific moment in time, and to the people who lived and died there. Even though the faces in the pit cannot be named, the place and the event are no longer a mystery. That matters because remembering correctly is one way of honoring the past. The haunting image still seems to speak not only about the cruelty of the Nazi system, but about why truth matters so deeply even after so many years have passed. Careful research and honest effort can still bring clarity to even the darkest moments. So keep watching until the very end, because the way experts investigated this image reveals just how powerful the truth can be. How experts investigated the image. The unraveling of the secrets behind one of the most haunting photographs of the Holocaust did not happen in a single moment, and it did not come from one person working alone. Instead, it came from years of slow, careful detective work carried out by historians, archivists, and modern digital investigators who refused to let the truth stay buried. For decades, the image existed as a painful and disturbing record, but without full details about where it was taken, who took it, and what exactly it showed. Many people looked at the photograph and asked the same quiet question: who were the people in this image, and what really happened here? The path to answering that question led through dusty archives, forgotten letters, museum collections, and even online tools that did not exist when the photograph was first discovered. A major breakthrough came when historian Jürgen Matthias made an unexpected find at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. While reviewing materials connected to German soldiers during World War II, Matthias came across the diary of Walter Materna. Materna had served in a unit connected to the Nazi occupation forces, and his diary contained many notes about daily life during the war. Tucked between its pages was a copy of the very photograph that had troubled so many researchers. What made this copy special was the writing on the back. In clear handwriting, someone had written the date and place, stating that the image showed the execution of Jewish people by the SS at the Berdichev Citadel in late July 1941. The exact date, July 28, 1941, was also written down. This small piece of writing changed everything. For the first time, the photograph had a precise place and a precise moment in history. No longer was it just a haunting image. It was now tied to a real location and a real day when lives were taken. This discovery gave historians a strong starting point, but it was only the beginning. To fully understand the scene, researchers had to go much deeper. Teams began searching through the Arolsen archives, which hold the largest collection of documents related to victims and survivors of Nazi crimes. These archives contain millions of pages, including transport lists, camp records, personal files, and official Nazi paperwork. Each document may seem small on its own, but together they create a powerful record of what happened across Europe during the Holocaust. At the same time, historians looked through the National Archives, which preserve seized foreign records, including Nazi files captured after the war. These records revealed how carefully the Nazi system documented its actions, even while trying to hide crimes. By comparing these documents with the diary and the photograph, historians could better understand how the execution in Berdichev fit into the wider campaign of mass killings. As this traditional research moved forward, a new kind of investigation joined the effort. A group known as Bellingcat became involved. Bellingcat is a network of researchers who use open-source information such as online maps, satellite images, old photographs, and public records to solve real-world mysteries. One of the people who joined this effort was Jörg Olaf Schumacher, a German doctor living in Qatar. Schumacher had read about Matthias's discovery and felt drawn to help. Using modern digital tools, the Bellingcat team began to study the photograph in detail. They examined shadows, walls, buildings, and the way the space was laid out. By comparing these details with old maps and images of Berdichev, the team was able to locate the exact site of the execution. The scene took place inside a walled Carmelite monastery, a place that once served a religious purpose but had been turned into a killing ground. Even more remarkably, the team could determine where the photographer had stood and where the victims had been placed. What once seemed like a blurry and distant moment in time now had clear physical meaning. This mix of old-style historical research and new digital investigation showed how powerful collaboration could be. The past, which often feels unreachable, suddenly became much closer. The photograph was no longer just a symbol. It was now a carefully mapped event, tied to real buildings and real people. This work proved that even after many decades, hidden truths could still be uncovered with patience and the right tools. Another powerful moment came when Matthias shared his findings publicly. After the information was released, a retired schoolteacher reached out with a shocking claim. He believed that one of the men in the photograph was a member of his own family. According to his letter, the man might have been Jacobus Onnen, the uncle of his wife. The schoolteacher wrote that this image had haunted the family for years. Even without full proof, the thought that a relative might have taken part in such an act had always cast a shadow over family history. Although many of Onnen's wartime letters had been destroyed years earlier, the family still had photographs of him. These pictures became extremely important. By comparing the family photos with the man in the execution image, researchers could look at facial features, posture, and other details. This careful comparison helped support the idea that Onnen was indeed one of the men present. While absolute certainty is hard to reach in such cases, the evidence was strong enough to give the identification real weight. Throughout history, personal letters and family records have played a key role in uncovering the truth about wartime actions. People on all sides of conflict often wrote letters home, sometimes sharing details they never expected to be seen by historians. In some cases, letters were hidden in clothing or tucked into small personal items. These pieces of paper, meant to be private, later became windows into the past. They revealed thoughts, fears, and actions that official records never captured. In the case of this photograph, even though some letters were lost, what remained was enough to connect the image to a real family and a real person. The journey to uncover the truth behind this photograph showed how history is built piece by piece. A diary page, a note on the back of a photo, a museum archive, and a digital map all came together to tell a story that had waited decades to be fully understood. Each step brought the past into sharper focus, showing that even the darkest moments in history can still be studied, recorded, and remembered with honesty and care. Every new detail added another piece to a story many believed was lost forever. But the most revealing truths are still ahead, so stay with this video until the very end, because what is now known about the men in the photo will change everything. What we now know about the men in the photo. A heavy and unsettling explanation followed as historians described how a chilling image finally led to the real identity of Jacobus Onnen, a man whose name stayed hidden for decades until modern tools uncovered a full and disturbing past. And many people quietly asked how a single photograph could carry so much weight and history. Records showed that Jacobus Onnen was born in 1906 in Tikkelwaaf, near the Dutch border, and came from an educated family, later working as a languages teacher, a detail that often made many pause and wonder how someone trained in words and learning could later become part of such darkness. Onnen joined the Nazi Party in 1931, even before Adolf Hitler took power, a move that signaled early and deep loyalty, and soon after that, Onnen entered the Sturmabteilung in January 1932, before transferring to the SS in November 1933, showing a steady climb deeper into the system, and a natural question often followed. What kind of thinking led to such choices so early on? After the German invasion of Poland, Onnen was stationed in the occupied city of Płock, and by June 1941, during Operation Barbarossa, Onnen became part of Einsatzgruppe C, a mobile killing unit responsible for the murder of more than 100,000 people, most of whom were Jewish civilians in Ukraine. And even when told in plain words, this fact carried a heavy silence that made many ask how such units could operate so openly. Historians explained that despite the scale of violence, serving in such units did not bring career rewards, which raised another troubling question. Why would someone like Onnen take part at all? Historian Matthias explained that the likely reason centered on a desire to impress people back home, and that answer made many reflect on how warped ideas of pride and honor had become. During that time, Nazi soldiers across occupied lands often took photographs of suffering and death as trophies, images shared among fellow soldiers or sent back to Germany as proof of power and control. And for men like Onnen, these photos served as twisted signs of having faced and dominated those labeled as enemies, a thought that made many feel uneasy about how cruelty could be turned into something to show off. After the war, Onnen never stood before a court or answered for any of these crimes, because Onnen was killed in combat on August 12, 1943, near Zhytomyr in western Ukraine at the age of 37, and a burial followed in a military cemetery in Kyiv, allowing an escape from the justice that many other Nazi figures eventually faced, which often led to the question of how many similar figures disappeared in the same way. For years, even a local war memorial listed Onnen as a victim of war, a detail that remained unchallenged until historian Matthias revealed the true identity in 2025, and that revelation changed how the name was viewed, leading officials to cover the name with a plaque that featured a QR code linking to clear information about the real role in the Holocaust, a step meant to replace honor with truth. And that decision made many wonder how many more names on monuments might still hide stories that have yet to be told. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.